Welcome to this lesson on solving percent problems. Please be sure you have these notes in front of you so we can begin our lesson. The learning objective for today says, I can find the total given a part and a percent. In previous lessons, they've always given us the total, but now they're going to give us a part and a percent. Our job is to figure out what the total is. So in this slide, let's discuss some of the old formulas that we've talked about in prior lessons. We know that proportions are two equal ratios. So if I have part over whole, it should equal part over whole. Another formula that we can remember is percent over 100 is equal to is over of. So this formula and this formula are the same thing. So I'm going to use 4 different color highlighters like we did in the other lesson to highlight the different parts of this formula. So I'm going to use yellow to highlight the percent portion of our formula. And remember, the percent, which goes on the top, is part of 100%. I know using the tape diagram that everything that I'm coloring, all the percentages that I'm coloring in yellow, are parts of my whole. Notice I didn't color the 100% in yellow. Now I'm going to take a different color highlighter. I'm going to use blue, and I'm going to color the 100 in blue because that is my whole percent. So using the tape diagram, I'm going to color the 100% using that same blue color because this represents the whole. The 100% represents the entire thing. So now I'm going to take a red highlighter and I'm going to color the is, or the part, up here because this is part of my whole. And on the tape diagram, all the numbers that I'm shading on the top, all of this represents part of my whole. Notice I didn't shade the 5 in red. I'm going to take a green color, the highlighter for green, and I'm going to color my of. And I know the of represents the whole. In my tape diagram, the 5 is going to be colored in green because the 5 represents the whole amount. So let's use these key concepts to solve the following examples. So example 1 says 10 is 25% of what number? Let's go ahead and list down all the information that we have. The problem says 10 is. 10 is part of a whole. Then they also give us 25%. Well, the 25% is our percent part. We know that every single percentage is out of 100%, so the percent whole is 100%. Then they say of what number? They are asking us to figure out the of. So I'm going to place an x, or a variable, in the of portion. Our goal is to figure out what the x is worth. So instead of writing a question mark like I did in the other video, I'm using x. So I'm going to start by using the formula percent over 100 equals is over of, and I'm going to place all the information that I'm given in the problem into this proportion. I know that the percent is worth 25%, so I'm going to place 25 over 100 because 100 is the total that a percentage is worth, or that's the whole percentage, equals, now on the top, the is they're giving us is 10. And on the bottom, I'm going to write x because I'm figuring out what the whole is, or what the of is. So now what we can do is we can reduce our first ratio, and if I divide the top and the bottom by 25, my reduced ratio becomes 1/4. So 1/4 is equal to 10 over x. Now we can use that to solve for our x. So now I'm going to ask myself, how can I make this 1 look like a 10? So let's multiply that by 10. So whatever I do to the top, let's make sure we do that to the bottom. So my value of x is equal to 40. So in our answer, we can say 10 is 25% of 40. So now let's visually see what this looks like on a tape diagram. I'm going to start with 0% here, which is worth nothing. Then I'm going to place 100% at the end, because that's my whole percentage. And in this problem, we didn't know what the whole was worth, so we're going to call that x for now. The problem says 25%, so I think 25% is about this location right here. So let's write 25% here. And the problem said that 25% was worth 10. So I'm going to shade this area right here because that was the region that I needed. So notice, if I add another 25% to the bottom, I'm going to be at 50%. So if I double the bottom, let's double the top. So then 50% would be worth 20. Let's go ahead and add another 25%. So we would be at 75% here. So let's add another 10 on the top. So we get 30 on the top. If I add another 25% on the bottom, let's add another 10 on the top. We should get our total value, which was 40. Same exact answer that we came up with previously. So notice that our answer, which was 40, is bigger than 10 because 40 is the total amount and 10 is the part. For example 2, it says 225 is 75% of what number? So let's take some time to fill out the important information that we know from this problem. The problem says 225 is, so that would be my part. 225 goes here. 75% is my percent part, because that's part of 100%. So 75 goes for the percent part. I know that every single percentage is always out of 100, so I'm going to place 100 right here. And then the problem also says, of what number? I'm going to call the of x because that's something we need to figure out. That's the unknown. So now let's go ahead and plug in the information that they're giving us into this formula. I know that 75 is the percentage. That's the part percentage, so that's going to be on top. So once we use it, we can go ahead and cross it out because we've used that already. Over 100 because every single percentage is out of 100%. And let's cross out percent whole. And then they're giving us the is. Is going to go on the top, so 225 goes on the top. And let's cross it out since we used it already. And then the of, which is the bottom, the total amount, we don't know, so we're going to call that x. So if I ask myself, how can I make 75 look like 225? I can multiply that by 3 and I will get 225. Whatever I do to the top, I should make sure I do that to the bottom. So 100 times 3, my value of x is equal to 300. That's the whole, the total amount. So I can say 225 is 75% of 300. So let's go ahead and draw the tape diagram so we can see what this looks like. So I've set up the problem from 0 to 100%. I know that 75%, because that's what the problem is giving me, goes about this location here. And the value of 75% was worth 225. So the region that I shaded shows what 75% looks like out of 100. We know that the total was 300 because we did the proportional work above. So notice our answer, 300, is bigger than 225 because 300 is the whole amount and 225 is the part. So pause the video and complete the guided problems, and we will discuss the answers in class tomorrow. Please notice that there are two guided problems on this slide, guided problem A and guided problem B. Also, please be sure you show us a diagram for both problems. So example 3 is a word problem. It says country music takes up 75% of Landon's music library. If he has downloaded 90 country music songs, how many songs does Landon have in his music library? So just because this problem is a word problem, we can still solve it the same way that we did the first two examples. The first thing we should do is go ahead and take a look at all the important information that this problem has given us and list it down. So the first part says, country music makes up 75% of Landon's music. That is his percent part, because 75% is part of his music library. We know that the percent whole is worth 100% because a percentage is all out of 100. And then it says if he has 90 country music songs in his library. Well, 90 is his part of the music in his library. It's not all of it. It's just representing the country, so it's part of it. We want to know how much he has in his music library total. So we don't know the total amount, or we don't know the of. So our job is to figure out what x is worth. So using this formula, we know that 75% goes on top, so let's go ahead and cross it out because we just used it. We know that it's going to go over 100% because 100% is the total amount, and I can go ahead and cross that out. I can set that equal to 90, which goes on the top because that is part of his total, and x is going to go on the bottom. So what I want to do now is let's go ahead and reduce. I can make 75 over 100, and we can reduce that by dividing the top and bottom by 25. So 25 divided by 75 is 3, and 100 divided by 25 is 4. So 75 over 100 is the same as 3/4. I can set that equal to 90 over x. So now let's ask ourselves, what can we multiply 3 to get 90? And I can multiply that by 30. 3 times 30 gets me 90. If I do that to the top, let's make sure we do that to the bottom. So the value of x, when I do 4 times 30, I would get 120. Notice 120 is bigger than 90 because 120 represents the whole. So in my answer, I can say Landon has 120 songs in his music library. So let's go ahead and draw the tape diagram. So this is what the starting part looks like. 75% would go about here. And 75% in this problem was worth 90. We know that the total amount was worth 120. So 120 is going to go right above the 100% mark. And the way that I'm going to label this diagram, instead of coloring it, I'm going to label it because we have a word problem. So I know that from 0 to 75%, we can call that country music. And from 75 to 100%, we can call it other music. So pause the video and complete the got it problem, and we'll discuss the answer in class tomorrow. Notice we are asking you to be sure to show us a diagram for this particular problem. So now that we've completed this lesson, go ahead and self-rate yourself and let us know how you feel. If there's any part of this video that you did not understand, please go back and watch it again, or come to class with some questions so we can discuss it in further detail.